Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. Iran has supplied Russia more than 400 ballistic missiles. I made a second video recently for the folk that are staying on my channel for the factual news and everything. Please watch that video, because this one is definitely not going to be that. We are living in a very interesting kind of world. We're living in a world where we were having a peace dividend world where we thought that our world order is unbreakable, that whatever we have achieved is there to stay. We have taken for granted great many things, be it something in Europe like there shall be an eternal peace on the European continent, and we took the idea of having that peace and having that notion of never again and turned it from we will prevent anything like Hitler coming into fruition ever again, and we turned it into, oh, we will do whatever we can and we will subject ourselves to all of the misery to never happen that again. Whereas when we are met now with something that Putin that doesn't want to apply to this, we are trying to dust the road before him as he steps over our values and our ideas for what the world should be. Never again for us is a toxic situation that we are finding ourselves in Europe. We are still poisoned by that toxic delusion that led to the situation that we are now in. But in the same sense, the same kind of poison is also within US. The poison of maybe not so much a peace dividend as in Europe, but the power dividend. A power dividend in a sense that there is no other power that can challenge US. That US is so powerful that it can completely look internally to solve the problems that only US is requiring. The problems that matters only for US, such as internal politics, and caring for allies is something secondary. US at some point switch from looking at world as being part of US dominated area into stating we're going to be just dominating by default, so everyone can do whatever they want. This is why powers like China, the authoritative powers that are opposing US in a lot of ideological ways, have been rising up. This is why Russia was allowed to basically grow into authoritarian regime. This is why North Korea, that was supposed to be a joke for many great decades, is now becoming a major power. This everything is also a product of the same poison. There is this person who is an Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs, Wallander. And she came to the House Armed Service Committee hearing, and she talked about great many things. Why don't we listen to what she had to say, and then we're going to take it apart.
The Biden administration came out and condemned the Ukrainians for hitting Russia's oil and gas infrastructure and suggested that they should not do that again. Can you tell me why, while Russia is attacking Ukrainians' oil and gas and energy sector, why shouldn't the Ukrainians attack the Russian oil and gas and energy sector?
The issue on attacking critical infrastructure is when those are civilian targets, we have concerns because Ukraine holds itself to the highest standards of observing the laws of armed conflict, and that's one of the elements of being a European democracy.
But the Russians are attacking the oil and gas infrastructure in Ukraine, correct?
Absolutely.
And if you're going to win a war, you can't sit back and take punches and not deliver punches. So why shouldn't the Ukrainians attack the oil and gas infrastructure in Russia?
Congressman, we have concerns about striking at civilian targets when we support countries. Again, this is Ukraine's sovereign decision, but we express those concerns.
But those oil and gas infrastructures in Russia are owned by the Kremlin, correct? It's not like they're owned by a private corporation that have shareholders and private assets are being destroyed.
They are owned by private Russian citizens who are part of the Putin regime. That is correct.
Wow, what a statement. But unfortunately, a lot of people have lashed to the idea of that US is preventing Ukraine at striking targets in Russia, which is first and foremost true, we are still freaking live in a situation where Ukraine is not allowed to strike even military targets in Russia. We are now talking of Ukraine not only not using US weapons to strike targets in Russia, but now Ukraine is using their own produced weapons to strike targets in Russia, and now being commented on by countries. What the fuck is this? And I believe this is specifically where the core of the problem lies, where this notion, I'm not sure if you heard, but the specific words that completely got my blood boiling over the edge when I just completely exploded was the fact that it's a critical notion of a European democracy to abide by the rules and regulations of law or something like this. This is the poison of the peace dividend that I'm talking to you about. The fact that that European powers don't want to use or produce the cluster munitions. Ooh, icky, is gonna hurt the enemy. The fact that we are now considering, but how can we fight against a country so we have some kind of ethical? We come back to the definition of a conventional warfare. A conventional warfare is a warfare that there is some kind of convention on use of certain weapons. The way that Russia is fighting does not follow any convention. They do not. They do what they can, how they can. They have broken every single law of war or rule of war, whatever you call it, that there is in the books. The only reason they haven't been able to touch chemical warfare at scale, there are already hundreds of reports that Russia is using chemical weapons on the front lines, and it's gonna get bigger. Russia is just gonna push these boundaries as we see not having significant pushback from it. And what instead Ukraine says, wow, we are having a hard time here. Could you please help us out? What I want us all to understand is that Ukraine is fighting for a survival. It's a survival of the nation. When I'm saying survival of the nation, we are thinking about great many people. But the main idea of survival of the nation is that a person survives. He wants to survive. A Ukrainian that is in Ukraine wants to survive. He wants his friends to survive. He wants his wife to survive. He wants the Russian missiles not to fly into Ukraine and kill them while they're asleep. Ukraine is being squeezed from all sides, and we are here discussing what is the notion to be a European democracy, what it takes to be a good adversary. How do we fight honestly with a great bit of respect towards our enemy? Russia is a terrorist state that is waging an aggressive genocidal war on a whole country that never asked for it. And we are now stating, but you want to be a European democracy, why don't you abide by the rules of the European democratic values? And I'm not saying this about the strikes and the targets in Ukraine, though I am saying this. I'm saying that this discussion is even taking fucking place. We are living in some kind of a delusion of what it is to be in a state of war, of what it is to be attacked. Ukraine is a full-blown defensive mode. And we are here fucking talking about whether or not our gas prices will going up. Wake the fuck up. With all our response and our discussions, Iran has supplied Russia with 400 ballistic missiles. The allies of Russia don't give a shit about conventions. Russia doesn't give a shit about convention. They're openly trading technologies with North Korea. North Korea, anyone, all of these countries that we are playing pretend here in our small European world, where we're still living in a delusion that there is some kind of rule of law, that world is just waiting to kind of get over Putin, and then we're going to have a bright future. The fucking democracy is under attack. We need to understand that this is just the start of fight for our survival. And we have the ability to end that fight now, to start moving back to the rule of law. But to do that, Ukraine must not only win, Ukraine must show Russia that whatever they were doing was not acceptable. And we are way beyond many of these steps. We are now so much back that now we are trying to even consider that maybe, just maybe, we should consider giving Putin some kind of a penny that maybe he's gonna fuck off. Or at least, oh, it's not gonna be a Ziki. And then we can continue hiding in our own little fucking house. This is especially important for us in Europe. There's still many political parties and political voices that we hear that are like, okay, no, it's fine. It's just Ukraine fighting. Yeah, it's never going to come to us. Not if we continue being this weak. And that's why it's crucial for us to show strength. You know what's the actual truth? You know what's pissing me off the most? Is that in US right now, the discussion is, what about 60 billions being supplied to Ukraine in aid? And you know what's the answer to that is that 60 billions is about a year too late. That amount is nearly not enough. We are way beyond our investment into our own defense. We need to skyrocket that. A 60 billion that is 1 or 2 years late, that's a joke. That is the truth. And we in Europe need to understand that how we are treating this, how we are voting. European elections are coming up. It's up to us to go and vote and get people that are still not understanding what is happening in Europe out. And get people that wants to do something in everywhere in Europe. And this is a job of everyone. We are getting very close. Because these same missiles that are supplied to Russia to rain on Ukraine could be raining on us next. And I know for US it's definitely a distant ally. But I am pretty sure that you understand what the repercussions of having Europe engaged for their survival, and even if you don't fight it, what's the China is going to take out of it? There is no falling back. Either we defend democracy right now, either we stand and fight for our values, or we're gonna sabotage this whole democratic experiment that we have here. We're gonna let the easiest fight of our life be lost because we were not bothered enough. On this channel, we're doing a lot. We already done many hundreds of euros that support the Ukrainian armed forces. And we're doing something right now as well. We're getting equipment to the Ukrainian armed forces. Please follow the link in description to donate. This is something that we must do while our governments try to unfuck themselves. We cannot stand besides. This is not a donation. This is not a charity. We are literally investing in our own defense. And if we cannot get this shit together, then we are gonna be really screwed. That's why I'm mad. That is why I am absolutely fuming. Let's do it. I love you all. Slava Ukraini, guys. We'll see you next time.